A very good evening to one and all. Carl Sagan, an American astrophysicist, once said, and I quote, advances in medicine and agriculture have saved vastly more lives than that have been lost in wars in history. And I believe the foundation for those advances is in the academic institutions. I, Sarah, welcome you all to the fifth webinar of Human Ethics Committee Association, HICA. HICA, with a motto to empower, inspire, and motivate, has a vision to build ethical, effective, and responsible clinical research. As is its objective to impart knowledge to the academia, clinical research, and the members of ethics committee across the nation. And adapting to the new normal in 2021, HICA has initiated an interesting educational webinar series in this year. In the earlier webinars, we have discussed about the essential attributes to be a good clinical research professional, about the good documentation practices, and an overview of pharmacovigilance. And we've also discussed how a hospital can leverage from a pharmacy student. I believe most of you have benefited from these webinars. And today, I'm happy to announce that we are at the fifth webinar, and we are very honored to have with us Professor Dr. Shailendra Saraf to enlighten us and also to share his views on today's topic, that is integration of academic institutions in clinical research. Before we dive further into the topic today, I invite Mr. Sudhir Patel, Secretary, Human Ethics Committee Association and Director, Quinary Clinical Research, to brief us more about HICA. Mr. Sudhir, the virtual stage is now yours.
Thank you, Sarah, and good evening to everyone. Sarah, hope my voice is clear.
Yes, sir.
And the screen is visible to everyone?
Yes, absolutely, yes.
Okay, thank you. We are delighted to have Dr. Saraf today for his session. And before that, I would like to brief about Human Ethics Committee Association, which is a unique initiative to bring all the ethics committees at one single platform. So what is Human Ethics Committee Association? It is a registered non-governmental organization in the area of research and the ethics. In India, we have many ethics committees. You must be knowing about institutional ethics committees affiliated with the hospital, independent ethics committees, and now post new clinical trial regulations, there are biomedical research ethics committees. Ethics committees are following various rules and guidelines. If you conduct the clinical trials, then you have to follow the new clinical trial regulations. If you are involved in the biomedical research, then you have to follow the national ethical guidelines, all ICMR guidelines. Day by day, responsibilities of the ethics committees are increasing. Ethics committees are reviewing, along with the clinical trials, they are reviewing the biomedical research, which is all innovations, device-related research, Ayurveda research, many other research which is associated with many various guidelines. When we have to follow the various guidelines and the rules, then there is always a required that common understanding. And HICA has come up with that concept to bring this common functioning and common understanding for all ethics committees, and to be a single platform where ethics committees can come, join, and interact with each other. They can form the policies, they can support the regulators, and they can interact and share the good practices. So with this vision, the HICA has formed, where we have a various professional supports, those who are from the academic backgrounds, from the research backgrounds, and they are contributing the ethical, effective, responsible culture in clinical research. There are key objectives of Human Ethics Committee Association were they have to empower ethics committees governing human research across the country, facilitate interaction between the regulatory bodies, researcher, sponsors, and the ethics committee on regular basis,
Hey,
to organize the seminars and trainings and workshops,
yeah,
ongoing interaction with ethics committees across country to know their needs and challenges and to put the efforts to provide appropriate solution, sharing knowledge and good practices. So these are the objective on which Human Ethics Committee Association is going to work. Who can join Human Ethics Committee Association? Ethics committee members, clinical research professionals, academic researchers, life science students. What are the benefits associated with? You can be a resource person to the events conducted by the Human Ethics Committee Association. You will get a publication opportunity. You will be a volunteer presenter at the workshop and conference organized by HICA, part of various initiatives and scientific programs conducted by HICA. And you are going to get a certification, as currently HICA has two types of membership, is annual and the life membership. Under the HICA, to strengthen the reach and research and ethics at regional level across the country, the one unique initiative has been started is a One City, One Leader, and which has been launched on 12th June 2021. So far, we have a 21 cities representation with the HICA, where you can see all from south, north, east, all the representations are there, and we are expecting more and more to join the HICA and take these research initiatives and ethics initiatives at all regional level. If you are interested to be a member of HICA and join hands, then these are the few details which will be even posted in the YouTube channel also while this session for your information. As an upcoming webinar, we have one more event which has been planned on 27th August 2021, which is associated with the ethics committees functioning, especially during pandemic times. Ethics committees and industries have faced many challenges, and they have come out very well with the use of many various initiatives. And to share that, we have all eminent members, those who are associated with the ethics committees, site, and industry with us on 27th August to share their experiences. So with this, I end my presentation, and I request Dr. Richa Dayaramani, who is a president of Human Ethics Committee Association, to take this event further and introduce to our today's speaker. Over to you, Dr. Richa. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Sudhir bhai, for briefing about HICA and giving me an opportunity to welcome and introduce Professor Saraf sir, who has been a guide and mentor for the entire profession of pharmacy and young pharmacy professionals, and especially to me. Thank you, sir, for giving kind consent. As we all know, sir do not need any introduction, but still, as a protocol, I take up this opportunity to say a few words about him. So, sir is actively involved in promoting pharmacy education and research in India, and he completed his pharmacy studies from the prestigious Dr. H.S. Gaur Vishwavidyalaya, Sagar, Madhya Pradesh. He had served as professor and principal at B.R. Nahata College of Pharmacy, Mandsaur, Madhya Pradesh, and also worked as director at University Institute of Pharmacy, Pandit Ravi Shankar Shukla University, Raipur, for more than a decade. He has also served as Vice Chancellor of State University, Hemchand Yadav Durg University, Chhattisgarh. He had been on board as Chairman, Board of Studies in Pharmacy, along with almost all prestigious statutory positions in the university. He has been working closely with Pharmacy Council of India for more than 16 years now, and currently he holds the position of Vice President, Pharmacy Council of India. Now, during his professional career, he has been associated with a lot of national and international statutory, regulatory, and accreditation bodies like PCI, AICTE, UGC, DST, NAC, NBA, etc., and contributed significantly to the profession of pharmacy through different professional bodies also like APTI, IPA, ISP, ISEP, Asian Association of Colleges of Pharmacy, that is AASP, Indian Science Congress Association, and Indian Society for Technical Education in various capacities. Not only this, on an international level, he is a member of the International Commission of ACPE, United States of America. He has been a researcher of repute and worked extensively in the field of herbal technology, medicinal plant research, and NHDDS for the last 3 decades and over, and successfully completed many research projects supported by funding agencies like UGC, AICTE, MPCOS, CGCOS, DST, etc. He has also played a vital role in establishing and implementing several institutional projects like UGC SAP, AICTE MODROP, DST FIST, and others, just to name a few. So, if we talk about his citation index, friends, it is more than 4,100 citations and an H index of 30 in Scopus journals, which itself is commendable. He has supervised 15 PhD scholars and contributed more than 200 national and international publications in various journals of repute. He has been and he is serving as a reviewer and member of various editorial boards in national and international research journals, and served as chairperson, resource person, and keynote speakers in various events. His exemplary work has been recognized with several records also, awards and recognitions, like he has been awarded with the Fellow of International Institute of Organizational Psychological Medicine, USA, Australia, UK, 2019, Dr. K.R. Parikh Award, ISTAM, India, 2019, Platinum Jubilee Lecturer Award, Indian Science Congress, ISC Infal, 2018, Merit of Excellence Award, ISP, 2018, Lifetime Achievement Award, Pharma Ratan Award, Kamla Ben Vavia Memorial Award for APTI, and to name a few. And there is a long list of awards which is very difficult to complete. And we hope that it is just the beginning and many more to come. And I sincerely thank you, sir, with gratitude and for accepting our invitation. And also, sir is on board of HECA, and he is the core committee member, and he has been kind enough to guide us and support us in all our endeavors. So thank you very much, sir. And now over to you, sir, for your presentation.
So thank you very much, Dr. Richa. At the outset, I would like to thank the leadership of HECA for inviting me. Dr. Richa Dayaramani, President of HECA, Sudhir Patel, Rakeshi, Sara, and all other respected members of HECA. It's really my proud privilege and definite honor to be here on this important platform, and that too on a very future institutions with clinical research. Need to be aware. So since this topic is having no specific format, it's really beyond the imagination. So I was very ambitious as far as the this preparation of this PowerPoint presentation is concerned. Just looking to the availability, the time. So there's a possibility I may skip a few slides, but I will share all these slides later on. So we are really living in a different world now. We are fortunate enough to see the world after this pandemic. Because during the pandemic, we have observed the world has been divided into two distinct parts. One part has faced high caste and they have suffered badly. But at the same time, another part of the people who have set new standards of their professional services and they have set society. Again, it's a happy movement to mention HECA is one of the organizations which has set new heights in the field of professional activities even during this pandemic. My compliments to leadership of HECA, and I hope you will remain active for the betterment of profession. Thanks to this COVID-19, because it gave us opportunity for the introspection, and it really made us realize that we were living in a different type of world. But we have observed contradictions. Before pandemic, we were happy that we are supplying the drugs to the whole world. McKinsey was saying India is the preferred destination for medical tourism. But this pandemic only made us realize that while we are claiming that we are supplying drugs to 150 countries, still there are people in this country, a large population is available here, which is not having access and affordability to medicines. If you talk about medical tourism, we have seen even we have to put all our efforts to make the oxygen available during this particular time. So being a teacher, I always take the brighter side of the event, and we are happy that we could understand where we stand, and it will help us how to achieve our goal in years to come. During this pandemic only, we have realized this is the society of ideas and inventions and innovations. Again, we were happy with this formulation of drugs, and there was practically no research as far as the inventions in the field of new drug molecule is concerned. Biotech is another important area which demonstrates us that more than 90% dependence of bulk drugs on other countries. There is upside down change in the pharmacy practice in this country. In 1940s, now we are over 1 million club members, pharmacists, and pharmacy practice has changed a lot. As far as industry is concerned, this is Industry 4.0, which came very silently, and that is the amalgamation of biological sciences, physical sciences, and information technology. Research, again, everything has changed. So I'm going to discuss the different paradigm shift in coming slides. As far as the trends in tasks are concerned, we have observed the whole world is just offering prevention over treatment. They are just coming to close to the nature, and it again provided us a huge opportunity to have pride in our own system of medicine, that is Ayurveda. Is cognitive computing, phenotyping and genotyping, testing for the development of the drugs, precision medicine, the drugs. But as far as the academia of this country is concerned, there are certain problems. Motivation is totally missing in the academic institution. Transformation is very slow. And we always say data is a wealth, but where this data will go? And what if the students are exposed with used data, and if we are not providing with sufficient tools and techniques to analyze properly, so student will be paralyzed. And practically, there is no orientation of machine learning, artificial intelligence, and deep data mining. We are talking very high about the data infrastructure, living infrastructure, but we have not having the sufficient good quality digital infrastructure. And very important, ideation is totally missing in our academic institutions. As far as topic is concerned, this particular one slide is self-explanatory, why we are talking about clinical trials and what is the need and basis of establishment of organizations like HECA. There is a steep rise as far as the clinical trials is concerned. Over 3 lakhs clinical trials officially in the organized manner. But see the picture. That is some statistical analysis of data available, what has happened. Two decades back, the whole world was looking at us because India was considered to be the heaven for the clinical trials, just for the reasons of phenotypic variation and genotypic variation available in this country. But what has happened? We lost this opportunity, and now we are again looking to avail this opportunity once again. You just see US alone having 5% of the world population, and more than 27% clinical trials are going on in US. And one more important trend is people are seeking the intervention of the court to avail the research drugs. It means they are volunteering themselves, they are considering their right to avail the facility of research drugs through clinical trials. While India and China together, 35% of world population, and only 12% clinical trials are going on here. Africa, again, 15% of the world population, and just 2 to 3% of clinical trials. It means we have to again opportunity and how better we can utilize and we can provide facilities to the people of this country. As far as clinical research is concerned, everybody is talking very high about the clinical trials. There is huge demand, different R&D spendings are there. People are coming forward to have their own CROs in this country, and also to focus on some orphanage drugs and some very latestly we have observed there is no research is going on as far as the new discovery of the antibiotics concerned, just because of the reason of the cost. It's not cost effective, because if you're coming out with antibiotics, so you have to test your antibiotic on each and every microbe independently, and this is not cost effective. So we have to evolve some mechanisms so that we can underline the need of the orphanage drugs and antibiotics, and there's need to have support from the regulatory and government as well. Whenever we talk about the clinical trials, we all understand the clinical phase 3 trial is the most important, and rather this is the only effective stage of clinical trials which confirms which mandate the particular drug to become a full-fledged drug after the approval for the use by the masses. So now recently we have observed there is support from the government, there is support from the funding agency for having the clinical trials on different drugs. And even in the research trends, we have observed recently, because earlier what we are doing, the research was just going on the conventional areas. We were just formulating, reformulating, developing new formulations, but basic research we are not doing. And now this is time when we have to focus on the innovation of new drugs, invention of new drugs. At the same time, we have to better utilize the available data, and we have to use the DBA studies. We have to transform the information to the generic drugs, and we have to think about the medical devices and nutraceuticals as well. As far as the clinical trials concerned, behavior of the regulatory framework of this country, and there's a lot of changes we have observed because they have put this particular testing under the citizen charter, even if they are not responding in 30 days, which is drugs to be manufactured in this country. 30 days timeline is given. After that, you will be deemed fit that your clinical studies is approved by the Central Licensing Authority. Even if the drugs which are manufactured outside, 90 days timeline is given, and after that you are eligible for the clinical trials. And as far as the clinical trial business is concerned, again there is a lot of initiative from multinationals. But at the same time, there is a huge contribution and enthusiasm observed from the Indian MNCs as well, like Dr. Reddy's, Nicholas, Piramal, Supply, and Lupin. The days are not far away from us that we will say that every year we are coming out with these new drugs with the help of our own regulatory and clinical trial framework in this country only. As far as India is concerned, there are several advantages. We have recently observed that India is an important country. The Prime Minister has rightly said that India is a pharmacy of the world. But what is the next stage? In my lifetime, at least, I want to see the India is recognized as a pharmaceutical laboratory in the world, and that is possible through the effective and because a better utilization of clinical research framework of this country. As far as the cost is concerned, the development cost in this country is very cost effective. Use manpower available, but there is need to have a capacity building of that trained manpower for the better utilization and better use in the development of the drugs. And as I have mentioned, there is a lot of variation, demographic dividend. We have a lot of ethnicity available in the same country. So if drugs are coming, then we can claim that our clinical trials are rugged and reproducible as well. And we have long history of use of our own system of medicine, which was totally based on the practice and observations. And if we say about the Ayurveda, Soyam Ayurveda and Saswatam Anaditat, it is eternal without any beginning or end. It was observed that this particular science is developed based on the observations only. And this is the oldest possible concept of clinical trials, and which is recorded as well. So this is high time that the world is looking towards India. Several countries are coming forward to have their own clinical research organization. Now this is time to take the advantage of all such activities and translate all such things. We have observed all best practices we have adopted. India is now signatory. India regulatory framework is now signatory of all major framework of world regulatory through WHO and through UN, and we are adopting all good practices, whether it is NDA, whether it is the adoption of electronic submission of data and maintenance of data is concerned. So this is again happy thing for us. As far as the academic institutions concerned, so what we have observed, we have learned in the last 70 years to work in isolation, and that comes because we were focusing on specialization and fast changing world where technology is fast changing very fast. We have lost the bus, and in order to develop this specialty, we landed with isolation. So the academia is working in isolation, and this is a high time to come out of the shell, collaborate with other we can say healthcare professionals in order to give better results for the development of the drugs. There is drugs, the system is not available. What is happening in this country, the total academia is focusing on the syllabus only. And this is just outcome of the expansion of the academic institution in this country, which was required. This is now again, I can say high time when we have to ensure this expansion is followed by consolidation. Otherwise, this expansion followed by expansion will lead to dilution. So again, we have to better utilize the optimization of the resources. We have to learn to work on the pursuits of the need-based hypothesis. At the same time, this academia is also looking towards the funding agency for the funding. They are not supporting their financially for the research and all that. Gap is always existing in the academia and industry, but this is time amongst for us as a leaders to underline to those problems and give the solutions. As far as the limited with industry is concerned, so again, industry having a very specific and focused approaches, and they are not looking towards other aspects. And practically, the academia, the industry of this country is not having access to other academic institutions or other organizations in order to provide the solution to the society. They have manpower, but this only having the focused approaches really not existing. The R&D is whatever available are existing. It is just focusing on we can say quality control and a little bit of the R&D. I can quote here the total investment on the R&D from the pharmaceutical industries just 0.6% of GDP. And one more important thing to mention here is less than 0.06% for the pharmaceutical, and that too there is no contribution from the private players. So this is time we should advocate that the private players are also coming forward and they are investing for the R&D. The country like Israel, they are spending more than 5 to 6% of their GDP on development and R&D studies activities. So this is time again the industry will answer such issues and they will come out with solutions. As far as the opportunities are concerned, so if there is a collaboration between industry and academia, it must be a win-win for both the things, academia and industry as well. Capacity building and handholding the first requirement. There's need to have simulated training of the students. At the same time, there's need to have integration of such activities with the academic training and learning. As far as the regulatory framework is concerned, we have observed recently this Indian Pharmaceutical Commission has joined hands with Pharmacy Council of India, and we are now going big way as far as the adverse regulation initiative of India is concerned. Now, the funding agency, external funding agency like BST, SRP, and other organizations are funding heavily for the studies like clinical studies of the drugs. At the same time, several startups and incubation centers are entrepreneurship is also developing, and this is also supporting with different institutions to have the finishing schools and take up their translate their ideas into reality. As far as this initiative, this joint initiative of Pharmacy Council of India, and we have identified the pharmacy council of this Pharm-D institutions to come forward and join hands, sign an MOU with the Indian Pharmacopoeia Commission, and start developing the concept of reporting the adverse drug reaction in this country. As far as the paradigm shift of regulation is concerned, the total changes we have observed, we are moving towards adaptive licensing. Instead of just simple policing, the regulatory is evolving as a hand-holding organization. This we have observed also in case of development of 100% indigenous vaccine of the biotechnology, where we have observed that total support from from 0 to 100 is given, and with the limited, with the very identified limited time period, we have seen that we have able to produce our own vaccine in the market, and that is available to several countries as well. So a lot of expectations are there as far as the paradigm shift in the regulation is concerned, and they are doing extremely good. So hats off to all of them. And there's need to have this information to be percolated among the masses who are working in the field at lower level, and then only will be able to say that we are ready to face the challenges of this field. As far as the development is concerned, this total paradigm shift in this field also. because nobody is ready to work on the age-old generic model of the research and development, because this is very extensive and huge investment in R&D. And now this company like Pfizer, they are coming out with a small center for therapeutic innovations, and somehow the GPUs discovery this performing units, and they are just focusing to utilize the best brains of the academia. They are ready to share their own infrastructure available with them, and they are welcoming the ideas from the industry. Another partnership approach we have seen in the past, that one of the Mundi Pharma, which is amalgamation of more than 120 pharmaceutical companies, it has come a very fast mode as far as the new drug reform is concerned. And this is just possible just because of the sharing of their informations and to cut the price of those research and activities. And cloud sourcing is another area is coming, where you need to hide your information and development, and you can share, and accordingly your contribution, you will be ready to share the profits as well. While we are talking about clinical research, so we cannot forget what is happening in the research area of this world. So there is a total paradigm shift in research as well. No, even the thought leader suggesting need not to go to the laboratory for some time. You just try to analyze the data available, and there are some beautiful initiatives like just Google the Watson, IBM Watson. 40 products are in the pipeline, and this is one of the product is Molly, which is a virtual nurse, and other product is this medical seed, which is really going to change the whole environment of the medical field. And clinical science, again, everybody is talking worldwide, and pharmacogenomics, stem cells, microbiome, laboratory on pills, these are the ideas, and there nobody is ready to work on generic model of the research, and they are transforming. As far as the paradigm shift in industry is concerned, again, this is a huge change in the area of the research in the industry. Their total everything is changed. And recently we have observed API dependence is the important criteria. We have that this is the criteria where we can do a lot as a country as far as the medical diplomacy is concerned. Regulatory relaxations we have observed, and we have very competent authorities to exercise those things. Supply chain we have observed even during this pandemic, where everything was locked down, but the supply chain was open, and there was no paucity of the availability of the drugs just because of the competent supply chain availability in this country. Where money chains were not available, but the supply chain was available, and drugs were developing. Again, this is one of the example I am just sharing how the changes are going on in the field of API. 2 years back, we have observed we have dependence on the China more than 70%, and at that time industry come forward and they start focusing on self-reliance on in the API. This is the data I am just sharing up April to March 2021 and April 2021, where we have observed more than 200% rise in the drug like ivermectin, and even 60% high price hike in the paracetamol. So these are the areas where we have to work and we have to take care. And as far as the new pharmacy practice is concerned, so for last 70 years, we are just focusing on the drugs, our total thrust on the drug and dispensing of the drug. But now we are at par with our pharmacists are at par with the pharmacists of anywhere working in the world. And we have to understand everybody is talking about preventive approaches, patient-centric care, and patient-centric care, because the patient is the central theme for each and every healthcare member of this country. And just on phenotypic drug discovery, ethical racial use of drugs. One important thing I can quote here, we have observed a lot of cases of black fungus in this country. But the pores are not new. This black fungus is not new. But why this is spread like anything? Just because there is no role played by the pharmacist in the healthcare team. Use of corticosteroids, there are not having this much of reports of fungus, but there is an unethical use of corticosteroids. That's why we are victim of this black fungus like things. So it again, this is time to have the advocacy on this idea also, that there is need to have pharmacists each and there is effective regulation is available, documentation of medical information available, pharmacovigilance this government of India is sincerely working on. And one more important thing, World Health Organization, United Nations is talking very high about interprofessional relations. So this is the high time to be adopted by the academia, so that pharmacists are developing their competence in their own field of specialization, but at the same time they are competent enough to interact with the other medical professional in the team. As far as the role of pharmacists is concerned, so it is now 360. Time has gone when we are just restricted to drug dispensing. Now doctors are waiting the pharmacists to join before going for the round. Now you are self-sufficient for the pharmacy administration, clinical trials, medical chemistry, pharmacokinetics, and patient counseling, therapeutics, and adverse drug reaction. So just you have to understand how you can play your role in the as far as the how hospital setting is concerned. Of pharmacists having in the hospitals. Now hospital, they are playing important role in the field of pharmacy practice through around of the wards, patient counseling, treatment of the chart view, therapy reaction as well. As far as the profession is concerned, so there's need to have always life is like learning. We have to learn from our own action. We have to experience our own action. We have to reflect on our own experiences, and we have to put our reflections into action again. As far as the future ethical concern is concerned, as this topic is of this particular webinar is clinical trials, so we have to understand the importance of this ethical practices, because again, this United Nations has adopted this resolution in 33rd body meeting that bioethics in human rights is a must. And they have beautifully identified 7 important issues. These are non-maleficence, autonomy, justice, beneficence, truthfulness, and solidarity. If we are focusing on all such areas, then we will be able to ensure that the patient rights are protected and they are ultimately getting out of this. And that way, we will be able to again trap the concept of clinical trials in this country, because 20 years we have lost this opportunity. Again, world is looking back towards the India, and if we are really focusing on ethically on such issues, tap this area of ethical issues in this particular country. And all such areas, if you want to have the ethical environment, if you want to have clinical research in this country, then you have to focus on capacity building in academics. Because if you are having the orientation of the professionals during their studies, then only you will be able to further groom them as per their expectations. But if there is no orientation during their studies, it will be very hard to develop those graduates and convert them into assets as far as their use and competence in the clinical area is concerned. So as we all know, we are living in a 4th paradigm shift of this learning. So we have to ensure that our graduates are able to solve the problem of the society which are not known to the society. At the same time, they are able to solve those problems with the help of tools, techniques, and mechanisms which are not yet invented. It means we have to ensure that this is the time before all of us to ensure that our graduates are capable of aligning themselves. They have the capacity of adjusting their competence and justify their existence in the healthcare team. So there are different models for the capacity building in academia. We have to do about the academic inspiration ecosystem of innovations. We have to come out of the concept of invention. We have to learn to put invention into use. Then only we can be able to confirm that our innovations are coming out, and this country is no more just pharmacy of the world, but pharmaceutical laboratory of the world. We have to develop center for excellence, and we have to ensure we are working in a collaboration. There is no need to work in isolation. At the same time, I urge upon all the pharmacists to respect the basic sciences as well, because all professional science always flourish on the development and the basic inventions in the field of pure sciences. So you have to learn to respect the inventions by the pure sciences. At the same time, you have to learn to better utilize those inventions into you be able to convert all such profits. So some areas where we have to think seriously. Ideation in our academic institution is totally missing. So we have to learn to respect our own ideas, and we have to start translating our own ideas into reality. At the same time, we have to learn the interprofessional communication. We have to make sure that we are not infringing, we are not entering into other domains. We are just developing the competence in our own field. But at the same time, we have this much of guts to interact with the other healthcare professional through interprofessional communication. As I have mentioned earlier also, there is need to have medical diplomacy, because whole of the world, people were enjoying the fruits of medical diplomacy. But during this pandemic, we have realized how important this concept is and how efficiently we can translate for the development of pharmaceutical environment, research environment in this country through medical diplomacy. Medical writing is the other left unattended, and innovations ecosystem with the help of proper involvement of industry and academia is need of the hour. Collaborative approach for the clinical research. At the same time, translational research is the concept which is adopted by most of the institutions right now. Professional ethics, bioethics, but at the same time, one word which covers all such ideas is leadership. We have to develop the leaders instead of we have simple pharmacists. We have to develop the leaders from our academic institution, and this is only possible if we are educating and we are providing the facility, they are understanding and they are improving, and they are really working on interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary, transdisciplinary, and up to some extent, they are working on the concept of anti-disciplinary research. Whosoever is competent can be on board for this particular purpose. So there are few couplets from the Gita, Adhisthanam tatha kartakaranam cha pratakridam vividascha pratakchestadyam chavatri panchamam. So these are the concepts which are based on the 4CF concept of the management and other concept of SMART, because you have to sincerely think about the body, doer, various senses, efforts, and then only fifth will come. This is divine providence. It means the feedback from the society. Then only you will be able to translate your research into reality. And you have to focus whatever you're doing. You should have this much guts to continuously work on those areas. Then only you will be able to translate those things. So I can conclude here. I'm just happy that HECA is organizing this particular integration of clinical research through academic institution. It's really very welcome step, and this is time to write our own narrative, because whole world is victim of the narrative fixed by others. This is said in Africa always, until the lions have their own storytellers, the history of hunt will always glorify the hunters. This is time to write our own narratives. But at the same time, we have to work seriously, we have to work continuously, then only we will be able to command the respect. It is again, as I said in the African local sayings, that when a gazelle wakes up in the morning, it ensures that he has to run fast so that he is not the victim of the lions. And when lions wakes up in the morning, it ensures that he has to run it's fast so that he can catch the slowest gazelle, then only he will be able to get the food. So this is not important who you are, whether a gazelle or a lion, but you have to make sure that you are running, and you are running for a purpose. And if you are running for the purpose, you will be able to command the respect for the profession and for yourself, for your nations, and for this mankind. So again, I'm just closing my statement with the concept of सुश्रुत एकम शास्त्र मध्यानो न च विद्याशास्त्र निश्चयम तस्मात् बहुश्रुत शास्त्र Vijani Chachikitsa. It means if you are just doing your science only, you will be considered as illiterate. It means you are supposed to know other sciences also, then only you will be considered a better physician and you will be able to command the respect. So with these words, my thanks to the organization for inviting me, and my thanks and my selecting this particular theme, because again, whole world is looking towards India to better utilize the genotype and phenotype of variation available in this country, and the clinical trials will be the only concept for the drug development in years to come. So again, thank you very much for inviting me, and if there is any question, I would I will try to respond to those queries. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for your overview on the clinical trials and updated regulatory framework in the country, and how the institutions have to come out of the shell and focus more on practicals along with the theory, and also how the holistic approach in clinical research is the need of the hour. And your vision for India to be recognized as a pharmaceutical laboratory in the world we believe, is not too far. Thank you for your inspiration, sir. Now is the time for questions. So we have a few questions from our participants, sir. So the first one, like, how are the academic institutions be involved in ADR reporting and pharmacovigilance? This is a question from Nageshwari Santhu.
Okay. So it's a nice question, and this is the latest development. There's Indian Pharmacopoeial Commission and Pharmacy Council of India has joined hands to have the adverse drug reaction reporting centers across the country. And since the pharmacy students have exposure to clinical material, so we have identified all such pharmacy institutions, and we urge upon all of them to come forward, and sufficient financial support is being provided by Government of India to develop adverse drug reaction centers in those institutions. Adverse drug reaction can be reported independently, individually also. But in order to sensitize the people of this country, we are developing those facilities. We are sensitizing, we are empowering the students to adopt this pharmacovigilance concept and percolate the spirit of this in the country. This is not only the simple to provide the pharmacist, but this will be a game changer in this country. So academic institutions have accepted this idea, and very soon across the country we will have at least 1,000 adverse drug reaction reporting, ADR reporting centers, and that all such things will be as per the recommendations, protocols will be followed of the World Health Organization. So each and everyone should appreciate, come forward and adopt such good things in the profession.
Yes, I'm very happy to know about this initiative. And so there's one question from Ms. Deepal Patel. Many institutions are offering PhD, but the topics are more on clinical research based, not on research based, on clinical based, not on a research based. How do you?
So since I belongs to academic, but I have no hesitation to mention that the research of this country in the pharmaceutical institution is research by fashion. It is not basically, this depends on the needs in the society. So this is high time we are through the different forums, we are sensitizing. You have to find out the uniqueness of your institution, and based on the availability of infrastructure and competence, you should identify and select the topic for research. And one more thing, as far as the data integrity is concerned, the world is talking about very high about the destruction of the research of this country. What we have learned in the last 2-3 decades, that we love to produce the positive reports only. But young researcher, I urge upon all the young researchers to focus on the reproducibility of the research. Negative results are as efficient as positive results. If you are having this, if you are come out of this mental inhibition of producing the positive results, then you will be do miracles in the field of research, because a small contribution will be a biggest contribution in years to come. So this we have to understand, we have to underline what are the areas, as I have presented in my in my PowerPoint presentation also, what are the areas where industry is looking at. So in those ideas, in those areas you have to fit in. And other concept of cosmetics is coming out very, very fast in this country. And this is time for the pharmacists to underline and better utilize the potential of cosmetics, particularly herbal cosmetics. And these are the areas totally virgin. If you are selecting those topics, and you will be do the miracles in those fields. And friends, high-end infrastructure is not only the prerequisite. According to availability of the infrastructure, you can choose your own hypothesis. And selecting of a topic, selecting of a hypothesis. Albert Einstein always said the ideation is the highest form of the research, but we are giving minimum trust on this particular concept. So ideation, you start ideating, and if you are having ideas, if you are respecting your idea, and if you dare to work on your ideas, you will become the Albert Einstein, and we can say Alexander Fleming of this country.
Yes, sir. Thank you. So the next question, can you share your views on how students can be ready for the industry while they're still in their studies or about to complete their studies? What are the additional things they can follow?
So there are same institution, same teacher, and two different institutions. One is just running a hospital, small pharmacy, and other is working in big pharmacy in the US. So it totally depends on the students, learners. And what we learned in last few decades, whatever notes are available, that is sufficient. So friends, the philosophy of the syllabus is the philosophy of commons. It means considering the average learning competence of the graduates, the syllabus is designed. But over and above the syllabus is never ever a binding, or rather is a bar for the students to learn. So you have to better utilize your time. And this is the beauty of this time. There are several platforms available online, and MOOCs and everything is available. So no doubt you have to go to your institutions, you have to learn the discipline of learning. At the same time, you have to keep your learning on 24/7, and that 365 days. Then only you will be able to command the respect, the profession, because this time is gone. If you are graduating yesterday and not studying today, will be considered illiterate tomorrow. So you have to make sure you are reusing your competence and developing yourself to cater the needs of the profession and your industry.
Yes, sir. So moving on to the next question. There is always a gap observed that between the knowledge that we gain during our academic career, and but there is no synchronization when professionals are starting their career. So any actions that the authorities or institutes can take up?
So I think that a student is talking about the competence gap. This pharmacy industry and pharmacy profession is highly technology driven, and half-life of technology is very short. So what you have to learn, you have to every day you have to learn the new technologies. Then only you will be able to remain contemporary, otherwise you will be lost. So only academic institutions cannot serve the purpose of your learning. Your learning, you are just coming to institution to learn the art of learning, nothing else. Okay? Just hold on.
Yes. Thank you.
Next
question.
Is there
Sir, if you could share your sorry, sir.
Please tell me next
Yes,
question.
yes. So if you can please share your thoughts on opportunities available to pursue PhD in clinical research from academic institutions in India.
So typical setup. This is the only India is the only country where we have maximum number of institutions in the world, maximum institution in the world, and you see the diversity also from diploma to PhD and PharmD. And as far as the research in clinical field is concerned, even if you are having the degree of this pharmacy practice and pharmacology, even in pharmaceutics, you can go for this clinical trial, and ample opportunities are available. But my suggestion is, if you want to go for the clinical research, you should opt an institution where sufficient clinical material is available. It means you should have access to the hospitals, hospital infrastructure, clinical material, and opportunity to interact with the doctors. Then only you will be able to give the befitting solutions and relevant outcomes of your clinical research. So it should not be by fashion or just desire. You have to check what the facilities are available. Say, for example, if you're working in a remote area where there is not even a single hospital is available, and if you are doing in the clinical research, then you will be focusing on just academic research and based on the documents only. So I urge upon the all the young professionals, if you are working in the field of clinical research, make sure you are working, you have this much of guts to interact with the doctors, you have the idea of interprofessional relations, communication, then only you will be able to give sufficient results in the field of clinical research. This is my take on this particular topic.
Yes, sir. So we need to make best utility of the academic institution we have, along with our individual capabilities we need to focus on. Thank you, sir.
Both.
Yes. So the next question is, does cosmetic products such as moisturizing creams or lotions require toxicity testing on animals?
It's not, the question is not complete, I think.
Does cosmetic products require toxicity testing on animals? I mean, is it toxicity testing required?
Yes, this is level. It is required, and even clinical trials are required, because there is a cosmetics as well. So you have to follow all those set of data, set of procedures religiously, and there is always changes in the policies, because please.
Yes, sorry to interrupt you, sir. The question is that animal studies are required for cosmetic testing. So actually, animal studies are not required for cosmetic testing.
Actually, whatever ingredients are there, they are having the pharmaceutical grades. So if they are having the pharmaceutical grades, then straight away they can come for the clinical trials and trials on the humans, I believe.
So clinical trials is different, but they have asked animal testing, and clinical trials is up to you. If you want to get any claims like dermatologically safe or dermatologically tested and things like that. So so then only in that case we would require the support from the clinical research organization to establish our claims with proof. But animal studies as such are not required.
It's not required.
Yeah, they are not required.
Exactly.
So because now the world today is now looking forward for cruelty-free label, that itself says that the ingredients are not of animal origin, and even no animals are sacrificed in the testing of the products and the ingredients as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for adding your insight. We may take up a few more questions, sir. If you
another 2-3 minutes.
For a minute.
It's almost more than an hour. So
So yes, majority, Sarah, in order to save time, because it's already we are running late. So I have answered most of the questions asked, which I could see in the chat box. So for further queries, if there is any important question or relevant question, we can take up.
Yes,
you can, Sarah, you can share your email ID.
Yes,
so
sir.
this is our responsibility to address all such queries of the participants. They are young, budding professional and future of this country. So we have to respond to all such queries. So you share your email ID. We'll certainly respond to all such queries in due course of time. So this is my suggestion.
Hello.
Have you heard what I've said? We have to respond to queries of all the students. So you can share your email ID and you can
Yes,
later
yes.
you share with me. So I will respond to each and every query. I love to, because this is the purpose of a teacher to interact with the students and give them befitting replies, whether they are satisfied or that is okay.
Yes, sir. Sure, sir. Sure, sir. I'll let you know if the questions come up. I'll forward them to you, sir. For sure.
Okay.
Thank you so much for your time, your patience, and the information. And it was a great inspiration for us.
Thanks.
Yes, thank you all. And thank you, Sudhir, Sara, and Jaini, Rakesh, our team, for making this a good one. And thank you, sir, of course, for your kind cooperation and enlightening all of us and the participants. And I would like to tell you that we received more than 200 registrations for your
Good.
for your webinar. And we hope that with your blessings, we will be able to continue further in this manner only. And thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sudhir.
Stay safe, stay blessed, stay happy, and stay active as well. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So can we leave then?
Yes, ma'am. Just a last vote of thanks.
Yes,
So
yes.
thank you, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Shailendra sir. Yes. Thank you, Dr. Richa. Involvement in today's webinar, and especially to those who have been with us since the first webinar. Your feedback will help us and will motivate us to do even better. Please do stay connected to us on LinkedIn for further updates from HICA, and the details for HICA website and our LinkedIn page are posted on the chat. So wish you all a happy weekend and stay safe. Thank you.
Yes.